So right now we are at the border of Montenegro, and this is gonna be country number 10, and that means that I am done basically with the countries for now. So let's see if we can actually get into this 10th country. But yeah, number 10. It has been a long while, but a month later I'm basically done almost. Oh, I'm going now to Podgorica, the capital. On our way towards the capital of Montenegro, Podgorica, we come across the Bay of Kotor, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. To get to the capital, you have two options. You can either take the ferry, which is the shorter route, or you can take the long route around the lake and then go towards the capital. The second option is the so-called panoramic view route. So they put signs everywhere along the road that directs you into the panoramic views. I think there are 2 or 3 options that you have, and you can understand why, because it's absolutely gorgeous to drive this. It's beautiful landscapes, water and lakes everywhere, islands. It's amazing. This is also the reason why the Bay of Kotor is on the UNESCO World Heritage List. It also has a lot of historical significance, because it used to be the border between the Ottoman Empire and the Venetian Empire, or the Habsburgs, or the Austro-Hungarians. This will be a reoccurring story for most of Montenegro. Welcome to the last episode of the Balkan run, country number 10, Montenegro. I have to give a disclaimer for this last video because I had major problems with my GoPro 4. I had a lot of problems with the memory card as always, and the battery was really killing me. I was mostly walking with a battery pack the whole day, hoping it would charge during the day, but the on button went on in my pocket very easily. It was very sensitive. So therefore I was recording my pocket a lot of the times and the battery was still empty. Then trying to record something took me many times, 20 times, and many of the footage I took was still compromised and broken files that now have a very low resolution, so it's unusable. That's why most of the footage now is actually phone footage from Instagram. Because I used to have an iPhone 6S Plus. This only had 18 gigabytes and I couldn't take actual videos on the phone because I didn't have space for that. Therefore I needed to use the Instagram stories, because at least you can save it on there. And in the end that saved me now with the episode. So that's why the episode is mostly filled with phone footage. I now upgraded to a GoPro 11, which is a total game changer. I wish I did it before. That's what you learn when you are doing this for the first time. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode, and yeah, let's continue watching. So my Airbnb was literally next to the central station of Podgorica. And it's really bizarre to imagine that this is the train station of the capital of our country. Because just look at it. It doesn't look like that, right? The Airbnb hosts were very kind because they shared even their fruits from their fruit and vegetable garden, like this one. They had fig trees and roses and everything. It was very nice. At this spot next to the river of Podgorica, you can find Roman ruins and the oldest bridge of Podgorica. Unfortunately, it's a little bit forgotten, because some people use it as a toilet. Nevertheless, everywhere you look, and that is in general for the Balkans, you see construction going on, even in this park. So progress is being made and they are striving to improve. Then I randomly stumbled upon this art exhibition, and this was probably the only time I had to show my COVID vaccination to some place, and there was literally nobody here. And the pictures didn't look that interesting, like I could do some of those myself. At walking distance from the city center we have this forest park, which is situated on top of a hill. At the start of the park we have a little war memorial, a bar and a climbing park for the kids and other activities. And from here we can choose various routes to walk around the forest. Take water and food with you because it can be a long walk, and also it can be steep and a bit exhausting. Also, Montenegro was hit hard by forest fires in this particular year, and you can even see this in this forest park next to the capital. Then I had a very cute interaction with a tortoise. They walk around the park, and some of them of course are afraid and they just tuck their head inside the shell, but this one was more interested in the food. Here we have the Millennium Bridge, which wasn't actually built for the millennium because it was built after, but it was built for the independence of Montenegro from Serbia in 2005. And now it is one of the landmarks of the capital. Because Podgorica is such a small city, the nightlife is very small, but nevertheless very centralized and very hectic. So in the city center you have 2 or 3 streets that are literally full of bars and restaurants, all connected to each other, and they all have their own music. So it's a very hectic mess with many genres playing through each other. But I understand why it is so popular, because there's literally nothing else to do except from the bars and the restaurants. I randomly stumbled upon Besa's castle. The only thing I could find out about it was that it was made by the Ottomans, and right now it's being fully renovated, that's why it was free entrance. And it's only about 30 minutes from Podgorica, and it's next to Shkodër Lake. That is where I am right now. I went to the place called Vir Pazar. It's a small little village that offers all kinds of excursions onto the lake. It also has a couple of nice restaurants, hotels and a very big monument. Lake Shkodër is the largest lake of the Balkans and one of the oldest in the world, and it's shared by Montenegro in the west and Albania in the east. As mentioned before, there are various activities to do around the lake, mostly by boat tours or other water activities. For example, you can go to an old prison island or see all the wildlife living in the wetlands. It's one of the largest bird reserves of Europe, because it hosts up to 270 bird species, including the very rare European pelican. And then I made my way towards the Adriatic Sea again, this time Bar, which is roughly 1.5 hours away from Podgorica. So I'm standing here at the viewing point over the city of Bar, which is over there, which connects with the ferry to Italy, which is over there. And I don't know, you have to come up those rocks or something. It's just full of stones and rocks and whatever. You have to walk over like this to the house. It's basically a church. And you also have to drive all the way up here basically. But yeah, it's a good view. It's a good view. You see everything. You see also there, entire coast basically, the mountain range around you. It's everywhere. It's really, really beautiful. Another example of my GoPro failing me, because I captured a lot of footage around this area, but as you can see it's all corrupted. And it took me 20 times to finally capture the moment on these rocks. But at least my drone works, and that's why we have those beautiful shots. Anyway, the city of Bar has quite an interesting name. The reason why it's called like that is because it's literally across from the city of Bari in Puglia, Italy. In fact, it used to be called Anti-Bari, which means in front of Bari. Oh, and here you can see me goofing around with the drone. But in all seriousness, I think it's quite a nice place to meditate. Anyhow, the city of Bar is not that big of a tourist destination, because it's mostly filled with brutalist communist architecture, with the occasional old building or this newly built Orthodox church. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have an interesting history, because like most places in the Balkans, there's always something to tell. It was ruled by various leaders and various countries. It was captured by the Serbs, for example, and subsequently destroyed. Later on, it was captured by the Venetians in 1445, and they called it Antibarium or Antivari. And it became part of Albanian Venice until the Ottomans captured it in 1571. During their reign, they mostly expelled the Catholic and Orthodox populations, so that's why this church is very significant now. In 1878, it became part of Montenegro. So then I made a random visit again to Albania, because I was basically an hour and a half away from Podgorica or an hour and a half away from Shkodër. So I went there. And I do not regret it because it's an absolutely beautiful place. I ended up at this castle over here and I ran on top of it to get the last glimmers of the sunset, and I was on time. But I do have to give a warning: if you come by car, be careful because it's a very tricky road to get up to the castle itself. It's better maybe to park it down and walk up if you are young and vital. If not, be aware that you probably lose grip, because the road is made of marble slabs, very slippery even without rain. It's a very steep incline, so getting up there is hard, but getting down there and keeping control is even harder. But it's totally worth it because you have a great view over the city and the lake. This location has been in defensive position in one form or another since before the 4th century BC. But the fort we see today was made by the Venetians from around the 13th century and later happily taken over by the Ottomans. And interestingly enough, every time I ended up in Albania, there was music somewhere. And I ended up again in a music festival. This was by far the biggest group of people I was around since the start of COVID, considering that this was at the end of 2021, so COVID was still a thing. The irony is that 2 weeks before this, I was stopped at Skopje airport for not having a PCR test, had to quickly take one for €200 before I could leave. And here we are at a festival where people don't even wear masks. How ironic. Shkodër was founded in the 4th century BC, and that makes it one of the oldest inhabited settlements of the Balkans. And therefore it has always been a very important city, especially because of the Albanian Renaissance. Because Shkodër is known for its arts, its culture and religious diversity. And this is something you can see everywhere in the city. And after my little adventure in Albania, I headed back toward Podgorica and called it a night. Because the next day I was going back to Dubrovnik for the last part of my travel. So, the next day I had to make my way back towards Dubrovnik airport, but not before I passed a few places. So from Podgorica we first make our way towards Budva, which is one of the most popular tourist destinations of Montenegro. The reason being the old walled city. In fact, it's so old, it's one of the oldest settlements of the Adriatic Sea. It started as a Greek colony some 2500 years ago. After that it became Roman and subsequently Byzantine, and in 841 it was destroyed by Muslim Saracens. Montenegro was many times the border of many empires, and you can still see that in the differences in the histories of the cities. Even though Budva is roughly 1.5 hours away from Bar, where I was previously, it has a very different history. Except for 1 year, Budva was spared the Ottoman occupation. It was mostly ruled by the Venetians for 400 years, until the Habsburg dynasty took it over. Followed by the Austro-Hungarians, and later it was included in Yugoslavia. We continue our way by crossing Lake Kotor by ferry, which takes roughly 15 minutes, so it's definitely the quickest and also cheapest option to getting around Lake Kotor. After crossing the Bay of Kotor by ferry, we made our way towards Herceg-Novi. And here I had a very quick pit stop because I had roughly 1 hour left and I had to return the car at a certain time in Dubrovnik. So I parked the car and I ran up towards the castle to capture the last rays of sunshine with my drone, and this is the result. Herceg-Novi has, as many places in the Balkans, a very long and complicated history. Its name means literally new castle, and it was controlled by various empires. And it becomes so interesting to see that every city has its own history and culture, even though Montenegro is so small. That again shows you the complexity of the Balkans. So Herceg-Novi was first part of Bosnia, and later the Ottomans took it over for around 200 years, until the Venetians again took it over. So as I just mentioned, I made it to Kanli Tower, which was established in 1539 by the Ottomans and was later expanded by the Venetians. The name means Bloody Tower in Turkish, because it used to host a prison. There seems to be a pattern with those names, because if you remember the Thessaloniki episode, the White Tower used to also be called Bloody Tower. So it seems that every time the Ottomans go somewhere, it becomes something bloody. Anyway, now it's a theater which hosts various events. After this quick pit stop, I made my way toward the finish line at Dubrovnik Airport. After dropping off the car at the airport, my car journey had come to an end. And this is my final destination of my entire trip. It is literally next to the airport, so I can just walk towards the airport and fly back home. So yeah, I was looking for a ticket home. It was very expensive the entire time, so I waited until the very last time. In Podgorica I booked everything, and basically the price was around 100 euros to fly back. And first it was the week before that, it was 150, basically 160, and it was not even direct, it was indirect and with layovers and stopovers. So I just... This is another example of my GoPro not functioning. So what I was talking about was that at the last week I had two options of getting home. The first option was getting home early, but the plane ticket was more expensive. Second option was go 3-4 days later. It was cheaper, and even the Airbnb cost would still together be cheaper than taking the earlier option. So of course, then why wouldn't you stay on holiday a couple of days longer? That's what I did, and I anyway started working already, but it's better working there than at home. So that was what I was explaining, and let's continue the last part of the video. Anyway, now on the way towards the original Dubrovnik. Yes, the original, because Saftat is also known as Old Ragusa. Ragusa is the old name, Italian name, for Dubrovnik. It's called like that because the citizens of Old Ragusa fled to the island that today is Dubrovnik and built the city. They did that after the city was destroyed in the 7th century. It only came back in the Middle Ages and was under control of Dubrovnik. Nowadays, it's a highly popular tourist destination for old people, I noticed. It's very green and they also have many flower fields. I definitely recommend coming here because you probably will pass it anyway going towards Dubrovnik or towards the airport because it's in between. And it is very calm and it's not very touristic as Dubrovnik. And by now you probably have seen how peaceful the place is. Here you can just sit and have a coffee and watch the locals go fishing or play water sports. You can have a little walk in the park and watch those beautiful sunsets without all the tourists. So we are at the end of the Balkan run, and what a journey it was. Absolutely beautiful landscapes, beautiful nature, lovely people, good delicious foods and a lot of culture and history. So let's have a quick recap of what my journey was about. So we start our journey in Romania, Cluj-Napoca. Then Bucharest, Sofia, Thessaloniki, Skopje, Pristina, Tirana, Ohrid, Skopje, we took a plane to Belgrade and a plane to Zagreb, and then Sarajevo, Mostar, Dubrovnik, Podgorica, and we finished again in Dubrovnik. And now it's time to go home.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome at the last episode of the Balkan tour. This will be a little bit an extended version of the postcard and magnet parts because I got 4, which I still have to do, because I did actually many places at the very last moment. So it will be a little bit of an exclusive last one. And we start indeed with the very first postcard from Montenegro, Podgorica. It's a pretty big one also. It was quite hard to find any kind of souvenir from Podgorica because it's not a very touristic place. So a card was very hard to find, but I found one. So, well, let's hear it. The first one.
All right. Okay. A beautiful night shot. Here we go. Hey Dad, Podgorica is very small. You can see everything in one day. There isn't a lot to see, actually, apart from some parks and museums. At night, it is very busy at the bars. There is a street full of them. When they all play their own music, it's a complete chaos. The atmosphere is very relaxed because the city is so small. The nature in Montenegro is the reason why I came, because it's amazing. The routes are gorgeous with their many panoramic views. Goodbye, Dad, that was it. Goodbye.
So indeed, the next one was from one of my other trips over there. So I went also to Budva, was on my trip back to Croatia. So this one I'm gonna read. Good day, Dad. Right now I am en route back to Dubrovnik. First stop is the Adriatic coast city with beautiful water. The road was quite tricky and a lot of turns. You mostly drive with your brakes, hoping to not overheat them. It's a truly touristic spot, but much cheaper. This country is small, but full of treasures. Definitely worth it. You can do a lot of water sports here, and activities. Probably expensive. Anyway, I gotta go to the next stop. See ya! So yeah, Budva, a little fortification city. It's maybe a mini version of Dubrovnik by almost. So yeah, so it's a nice, cute place where you can visit it quickly. Also, if you want, maybe a couple of hours, you could see this place, which I did very quickly. Yeah, definitely worth it. And then after, I also went to surprise place to Albania. So I went to Shkodër. Well, it was a short one, but let's see what I wrote.
Okay, right, here we go. G'day, Dad. So, I made a random visit to Albania again. It was great. I'm very surprised about how modern the country is. I ran into a festival full of people. The lake is beautiful and the castle looks amazing. This is what spontaneity can do. There you have it. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. So spontaneous choices can lead you sometimes in beautiful locations. So yeah, I definitely didn't regret that. No, it was very nice. And of course, the last one, the piece de résistance. My last place was Saftat, and this is the place from where I left. Basically, it's literally next to the airport of Dubrovnik, as it's called. And I chose that, of course, on purpose, so I could just literally walk to the airport without any problems. And this then happened to be also a very beautiful place. Also touristy, but it's more for the elderly, not really for young people. So actually it was a pretty nice vibe. So this is the last one which I will read, and it goes as follows. G'day Dad, the last days have started. This area is very beautiful and peaceful. Not so busy as Dubrovnik, for example. The village is stunning and the water perfectly blue, with fish everywhere. The airport is next door, but you are not bothered by it. The whole coast is gorgeous and beautiful everywhere. See you next time. See you soon, actually. So, yeah, and then very shortly later I was back in cold Netherlands. So, yeah, definitely worth it if you are going to Dubrovnik, and you probably go to the airport of Dubrovnik. It's a good idea to stop over here. It's very nice, and it's the whole atmosphere is very different from the city of Dubrovnik, less touristy and it's more local also. I like that. And of course I got a little bit of souvenirs, just some magnets again. I couldn't get one from Podgorica because that's very difficult. So the first best thing I found was Bar, which is a city. As you could see, it was at the coast. So I thought it was funny, with a little rope and the drawing of the city. And again, it was wood. So yeah, pretty unique.
Yeah.
Then I also got Shkodër, which is Albania, which is of the Grand Mosque that they have over there. So yeah, quick magnet of course, because I was there for a very short period, but it captures the idea. Then I also went to Budva, as I just showed you. This one is glass, and it's supposed to be this stained glass thing, what you see in churches, for example. I thought it was quite unique. But the actual story of how I got this is even uniquer, because I entered one of the souvenir shops and I looked around, but there was nobody inside. And it was quite a big one actually. And I was waiting for somebody to appear. I looked behind the counter in a little room, there was nobody there. And I needed to go because I needed to drive further. So, and I really wanted this because it was kind of unique, because it's glass. So in the end, I saw that they had the machine to pay with a card, and it's just like in the Netherlands here. And I have worked in the restaurant business and stuff, so I know how to work that machine. So I just grabbed it myself. I looked at the price, what the price was on the back. I entered the price in the machine, and then I paid myself. For myself, and I just left the receipt. Of course I left it. I wrote with a pen that was there. I wrote, well, you were not there, but I paid anyway, and thank you. So I left paying, because at least I'm honest, and I left. And I always wondered what the guy would have thought if he came back. I don't know, maybe he was taking a coffee somewhere or something, but it was very strange that there was nobody there. So yeah, I got it, but I also paid for it myself. So it was kind of strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I filmed everything, but of course my GoPro is not working as usual. And then the very last one, second last one, is Herzegovina, which I was just before re-entering Dubrovnik or Croatia. So I randomly went here for, I think, half an hour. I was maybe here, or less than an hour. Very beautiful town. Maybe the next time, if I have more time, I will visit it a bit better. Then the very last one I think is also very unique actually, from Savtat. It's hand painted, it's a shell. So it's an actual shell. So that's actually very rare, and it's hand painted, so it's very beautifully painted, as you can see. So yeah, obviously I had to get that one. They had many versions of it, and yeah, it's not something you can buy every day, I guess, in not every place. So yeah. From the generic ones, this one is one of the best, I think. So very beautifully painted, and it's not even. It's very hard, I think, because it's not like a flat surface.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nicely done.
very beautifully done. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the Balkan travel this far, and yeah, maybe it inspired you or gave you some ideas or things to maybe not to do. I at least enjoyed it, and I learned a lot from it. And the next travels also will be interesting. Well, anyway, thank you for watching, and then see you next time.
That's right. See you next time.
Bye bye.